Hello, welcome to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. In this upload, we will be reading 1 Samuel chapter 2. And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoices in the Lord. Mine horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so exceedingly proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth, for the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are girded with strength. They that were full have hired out themselves for bread, and they that were hungry ceased, so that the barren hath borne seven, and she that hath many children is waxed feeble. The Lord killeth and maketh alive, he bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich, he bringeth low and lifteth up. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of the glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he hath set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto his king, and exalt the horn of his anointed. And Elkanah went to Ramah to his house, and the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli the priest. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not the Lord. And the priest's custom with the people was that when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came while the flesh was in seething, with a flesh hook of 3/10 in his hand, and he struck it into the pan, or kettle, or cauldron, or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up the priest took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came thither. Also, before they burnt the fat, the priest's servant came and said to the man that sacrificed, Give flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh of thee, but raw. And if any man said unto him, Let them not fail to burn the fat presently, and then take as much as thy soul desireth, then he would answer him, Nay, but thou shalt give it me now, and if not, I will take it by force. Wherefore the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, for men abhorred the offering of the Lord. But Samuel ministered before the Lord, being a child, girded with a line and ephod. Moreover, his mother made him a little coat, and brought it to him from year to year, when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli blessed Elkanah and his wife, and said, The Lord give thee seed of this woman for the loan which is lent to the Lord. And they went into their own home. And the Lord visited Hannah, so that she conceived and bare 3 sons and 2 daughters, and the child Samuel grew before the Lord. Now Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And he said unto them, Why do ye such things? For I hear of your evil dealings by all this people. Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear. Ye make the Lord's people to transgress. If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against the Lord, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto the voice of their father, because the Lord would slay them. And the child Samuel grew on, and was in favor both with the Lord and also with men. And there came a man of God unto Eli, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, Did I plainly appear unto the house of thy father, when they were in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? And did I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, to offer upon mine altar, to burn incense, to wear an ephod before me? And did I give unto the house of thy father all the offerings made by fire of the children of Israel? Wherefore kick ye at my sacrifice and mine offering, which I have commanded in my habitation, and honorest thy sons above me, to make yourselves fat with the chiefest of all the offerings of Israel my people? Wherefore the Lord God of Israel saith, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now the Lord saith, Be it far from me, for them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come that I will cut off thine arm and the arm of thy father's house, that there shall not be an old man in thine house. And thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation, and all the wealth which God shall give Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thine house forever. And the man of thine, whom I shall not cut off from mine altar, shall be to consume thine eyes, and to grieve thine heart, and all the increase of thine house shall die in the flower of their age. And this shall be a sign unto thee, that shall come upon thy 2 sons, on Hophni and Phinehas, and one day they shall die both of them. And I will raise me up a faithful priest, that shall do according to that which is in mine heart and in my mind, and I will build him a sure house, and he shall walk before mine anointed forever. And it shall come to pass that every one that is left in thine house shall come and crouch to him for a piece of silver and a morsel of bread, and shall say, Put me, I pray thee, into one of the priest's offices, that I may eat a piece of bread. Summarizing 1 Samuel chapter 2. So, verses 1 through 10 is Hannah praying. Um, so, some of what she says: My heart rejoices, my mouth is enlarged over my enemies, rejoice in thy salvation. And then in verse 3, she catches herself. Talk no more so proudly, let not arrogance come from your mouth, for the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. I really like this in verse 3 because this is exactly how I this is how I believe in God. God is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. This is why I feel so free to experiment with makeup, clothing, color, because God knows what the intentions of my heart is and everyone's heart is. Performative piety, first of all, I'm not that pious anyway, so it would be fake for me to just pretend that I don't like makeup and hair extensions and colors and dresses. I don't believe God told me I can't like that stuff or do that stuff. Now, I understand that depending on what setting you're in, you have to be appropriate. But in my home, in my bedroom, from the neck up, I don't think I'm doing too much. And so I don't believe I need to cover my head or take my lashes off. That's performative piety. God measures what's in your heart. And you can't even have a heart full of piety if you don't even know what God said. So if you haven't read through this Bible and you're just performing things so that other people will look at you and go, oh, okay, well, she doesn't wear makeup. She must be holy. She has no earrings on. She has no makeup on at all. So she must be holy. You'll get the approval from man, but that's not God. So I don't do that. I've never, I was raised in a church, multi-generational family church, Southern Baptist. My grandmother, my mother, uh, my grandmother's mother, they all went to that church. So we were never taught that we can't wear makeup. We can't like glamorous things. And I think I have a pretty good balance. I don't always feel like it, but when I feel like it, I'm going to do it. So, the condition of the heart is the most important thing. So, okay. So, verses 1 through 10 is a prayer, but I really do like verse 3. I apply that to my life. We get to verse 11, and Elkanah went home to Ramah, and the boy was ministering to the Lord in the presence of Eli the priest. So basically, the boy Samuel was serving. Okay. At the end of chapter 1, El- Elkanah and Hannah had gone to Shiloh and brought the boy, and they slew a bull. And they were Hannah was telling Eli that she, her prayer was answered. She had this little boy and she's going to lend him to serve the Lord. So this chapter starts off with a prayer, and then Elkanah goes home. Now, verse 12, we are discussing the 12 through 17, we are discussing Eli's sons. So Eli has two sons who have jobs as priests or who are priests, and they were not following the customs. They were wayward and wicked. And from 13 to 16, when Israel made an offering, the priest would stick a fork in it and take some of it, or they would demand portions before the person completed the ritual properly. So when we look in the first 3 chapters of Leviticus, particularly for a peace offering, the priests are allowed some of the offering. The contributions that are made to the church are supposed to be to support the priests, because priests don't have an income, priests don't have a job. So that makes sense. But sending this to making this type of sacrifice, and then before the Israelites can even complete the ritual, the priest, Eli's sons are sticking uh, forks in the offering and taking some off and eating it. Or they would demand meat before the ritual was completed. I mean, they just were desecrating the position that they were supposed to have, and they were treating God's offering with contempt. Okay? So Samuel ministered before the Lord, again serving in the house of God with Eli, and he was a boy clothed with a linen ephod or a priestly garment. His mother used to make a little robe and take it to him each year because Hannah prayed so hard for little boy and then gave him away. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, for real though, but I understand the importance. Uh, so every year she goes to visit him, and Eli would bless them and, like give them a benediction blessing. May the Lord give you more children. And they'd go home. So in verse 21, Hannah has three more sons and two daughters. And Samuel grew. So now we get to verse 22 through verse 25. And Eli started to hear some not great things about his sons. He was, their sons were having sex with the women who were working, at the church. And see, I'm reading the King James, so the woman that assembled. So I'm thinking that these are women that come to church, you know, but we also see in some translations it's saying that they were working in the church. I think it would be okay to look over here, verse who assembled at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So whether those women worked there or they were just people who came there to attend services, regardless, the priests, they were not supposed to be sleeping with the women, but they were. So that was also a problem. So Eli confronts his sons and he says, "Why are you doing these things? If someone sins against a man, God can mediate. But if you sin against God, there is no mediator." But they didn't listen. And we see again, it was the will of the Lord to put them to death. I mentioned this in the last chapter. God gets credited for things that he gets credited with more things than what God actually takes responsibility for or what God says. Remember, God said that his name was jealous. God said he cursed the ground for man's sake. God said he, had the flood. He allowed the flood to be there and to wipe out mankind. So God has the capacity to take responsibility for what he does, but some things God isn't doing. So again, it's not enough evidence to say whether it was the will of the Lord or not. But what I will say is consequences are attached to choices. And so the will of God doesn't factor into that. If you're desecrating God's offering and you're doing all these things against the Bible, against what you're supposed to be doing as a priest, I mean, you're going to invite your own demise. So, okay. Just want to suggest every time we see the will of the Lord, it was the will of God for this to happen, and all good things come from God. So is it God's will if someone's making terrible choices over and again? Just wanting to say that. Samuel continued to grow in stature, in favor with God, and in his reputation with men. Verse 27 through 36, this is detailing a warning from an unnamed man, just as a man of God. And he says, "Thus says the Lord, didn't I reveal myself to the house of your father? Didn't I choose him out of all the tribes to be my priest? I gave to the house of your father all my offerings by fire." So again, this is referencing that custom of when offerings are being made, priests do get a contribution because they don't have a regular income. So that's what they're supposed to do. But you're not doing it the right way. You're fattening yourselves on the choicest part of every offering. I'm pretty sure if they just did it once or twice, maybe God wouldn't have got mad. But I mean, this becoming such a problem that Eli already uh, chastised them about it and they didn't listen. But this was after he became a very old man in verse 22. So this man of God goes to Eli directly. And so he tells him, I promised that your house would be, good forever, but those who honor me, I'll honor, and those who don't honor me will be lightly esteemed. So the days are coming when I'm going to cut off your strength and the strength of your father's house, and there ain't even going to be no old men in your house. Then in distress, you will look with an envious eye on the prosperity that will be bestowed on Israel. And there's not going to be anybody that grows to be an old man in your house forever. So you're going to be jealous and you're going to die young and you're going to be impoverished. Because we see down here, I apologize, I shouldn't have said that up here because that's not what it said up here, but you'll have an envious eye on all the prosperity. The only one of you I won't cut off shall be spared to be so sad at what's going to happen to your family. Your two sons are going to die on the same day. I'll raise a faithful priest. I'll build him a house. Everyone who's left in your house is going to be begging this one man that I raised up, this one priest, for a piece of silver or a loaf of bread.